Welcome back to the Boot Tragedies. Thank y'all for tuning into the channel once again, man. I'm kind of going to talk about why the Saints haven't signed a receiver, at least, in my opinion. It's been evident for a couple of years now that the Saints were in need of a wide receiver. We still haven't addressed that position for the long haul. Bringing guys in like Emmanuel Sanders didn't really work out. Kind of an older guy, but it's time for some fresh legs to get in there, some new faces to get in there. And we're going to just start off with, man, one of the main reasons I think the Saints haven't signed a receiver is Michael Thomas is coming back. A lot of people tend to forget that Michael Thomas will be back. He should be fully healthy. It's going to be almost 2 years, feels like, since he played a football game. So hopefully he's healthy. Hopefully he's not limping around. Hopefully that ankle is 100% healed. If it is, then I'm sure the Saints are confident in that receiving core. Not only does Michael Thomas coming back help the offense, it helps the other receivers as well. Marquez Callaway trying to be a number one receiver, facing number one DBs last year. Obviously, he wasn't ready for that situation. Undrafted free agent. Showed a lot of promise, but he just wasn't ready for that situation. Then not having Jameis Winston after week 7, week 8, it just wasn't a best case scenario for the receivers, honestly. So yeah, that's my first reason. Is basically Michael Thomas will be back. He will help this receiving core tremendously. Obviously, he'll draw a lot of attention and things like that. So these other guys will have, opportunities to go against second and third and fourth corners and some things like that. So that will definitely help them out. And my next point will be that Jameis Winston will be back. A lot of people tend to forget that Jameis Winston only played up until week 8, played 7 games for us. So obviously, those receivers playing with Taysom Hill, Trevor Siemian, and Ian Book for a game, it's not the same as playing with Jameis Winston. No, Jameis Winston's not, a top 5 quarterback, but he's better than the guys listed at throwing the ball. None of these receivers had chemistry with any quarterback. They were just starting to, build chemistry with Jameis Winston. Then he went out. Then they was building chemistry with Trevor Siemian. They benched him. Taysom Hill came in. Then Ian Book had to play. Then Taysom came back. There was just a lot of turnover at the quarterback position. So the receivers were, just in a bad spot last year. They didn't have a consistent guy. So they, everything they had to do was different. Hopefully Jameis Winston comes back into the season healthy. He has chemistry with these guys, and he's there for the long haul, and he can make it through the season. That will also help this receiving core. And my next reason is, hey, relax. The Saints have the number 18 pick in the NFL draft. Obviously, a lot of people want receiver at that position, but the Saints, the Saints might sink and draft the offensive lineman at a tackle. But that wouldn't be the end of the world just because it's a deep wide receiver class, man. I think the wide receiver class will kind of go into the 50s and 60s of like real good day one starters at receiver, so the Saints don't have to panic on that front, man. They can draft a guy first, second round. I think he'll come in and start for the Saints and be productive for the Saints. Obviously, he won't have to come in and be the number 1 wide receiver because Michael Thomas is back, but he can compete for that number 2 spot with Callaway, and I think that'll just be good. So I think the Saints know that, so they're not in any rush to sign a receiver at the moment. And like I mentioned, Callaway, man, he showed a lot of progress last year that he can be not elite receiver, but he can be a very, very good receiver in this NFL, man. He's still developing, still becoming the best wide receiver he can be, but last year showed me a lot, especially late. He had, he picked it up a little bit. So consistency at quarterback, more reps for Callaway, and actually being a number 2 with a true number 1 next to you is going to make an entire difference for Marquez Callaway. You can just see guys like Juju Smith-Schuster, Calvin Ridley. When those guys like Julio and AB are next to you, man, it just makes life so much easier. So if Michael Thomas is back, if Michael Thomas is the Michael Thomas as we know it, Callaway's job will be so much easier next year. And for me, last but not least, one of the most important reasons I think the Saints haven't signed a receiver right now is just because the receiver market is absolutely insane right now, man. Just from the trades that's going down, the new contracts that's going down. I think the Saints don't want to overpay. They don't want to pay the wrong guy. They don't want to get stuck with another bad contract or anything like that. So they're kind of waiting for the market to settle down. Obviously, the big trades that went down, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, those guys both signed NFL record extensions for money per year basically, and guaranteed money and all those type of things. So the Saints weren't going to be players in that market. That just was too expensive for our taste, and on top of giving up that first rounder or multiple first rounders, that just wasn't going to be ideal for the Saints. I'll just run off some of these receivers in the price range that these guys have been going for. Christian Kirk, 4 years, $72 million, man. That's a lot of money. 18-year average. Allen Robinson, 3 years, $46 million. 15.5 average. Scantling, Marquez Valdez Scantling, $30 million, $10 million per year. You had Russell Gage going for $10 million per year, Zay Jones 8, Cedric Wilson 7.5. So DJ Chark 10. It's been some guys that's been going for a kind of insane amount of money for what I would have thought they've gotten paid, but maybe the receiver market has jumped up this year. But way too pricey for me. I'm assuming the Saints think the same thing for some of them receivers, so they just kind of let those guys go by. And there's still more receivers out there, man. There's still a good crop of receivers out there. I'm just willing to sign a mid-tier guy. Don't have to get the number ones per se, even though there wasn't many out there. But I'm definitely not trying to overpay for a wide receiver. And also, let's calm down, man. The receiver market is still healthy. It's still full. I'm just going to name some people off the list right now. You got Julio Jones, Jarvis Landry, Will Fuller, T.Y. Hilton, Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders, A.J. Green. Plenty guys, at the top of this list. And then you got some mid-tier guys, Keelan Cole, Samuel Watkins, Allen Hurns, Albert Winston, Deshaun Jackson, Odell, obviously, Danny Amendola, Marquise Goodwin, Mohamed Sanu, D.D. Westbrook, Tavon Austin. So it's some guys out there, man. I think realistically, it's probably about, 4 to 5 or maybe more number 2 wide receivers out there. And it's probably 10 plus number 2, number 3s, and then after that it's just kind of guys that 4th and 5th roster spots trying to fill out your receiving core. Not going to be great, just going to be, slightly productive, 30 to 40 catch guys a year, and you can't ask for too much from a 4th or 5th guy. That'll be great if the Saints could bring in a couple of those guys, compete for some roster spots, but it would be nice to get one of these number 2 guys out of free agency. That way you have some versatility with your number 18 pick. You can probably move back. You can move up for offensive lineman if you kind of sign a receiver now and then get a receiver later in the draft, maybe round 2 or round 3. So the Saints have options if they can sign, one of those number 2 guys in free agency right now. That's it for me, man. Like I said, I'm not panicking on this wide receiver issue yet, but it's kind of getting to that time. They were at the Ohio State Pro Day today, and obviously they got Olave and Garrett Wilson up there. So the Saints were looking at receivers, at Ohio State's Pro Day, and obviously they've been looking at other receivers in the draft. I'm sure they've been talking to a lot of these free agency wide receivers. Actually, I know because we've been close, on a lot of them, but haven't really got any. I think that's just because the price tags weren't matching up, and other teams are willing to pay more than we were at the moment. So just be patient, man. Be patient. I trust these guys to make the right decision for the team. But also remember, it takes 2 to tango, man. The Saints can be offering these receivers money, and they could just not want to come to New Orleans, man. Maybe they think Jameis Winston isn't an answer. Maybe they think Jameis Winston is hurt. Obviously, Sean Payton's gone. And even though it'll kind of be the same system, it just won't be the same, obviously, with Sean Payton, at the helm. So maybe it'll be some growing pains, and maybe guys are taking that in consideration. But honestly, that receiver room is one guy away from me being kind of content with it. It won't be the best in the league, but it won't be the worst in the league by any means. If you have Callaway, Michael Thomas, either a free agent receiver or a first-round draft pick, man, it won't be an awful wide receiver room. So people have to stop the panic. Stop the panic. Trust the guys as of now. But if they don't get it done, hey, I'm going to be the first to come on here and kill them. But I'm going to give them chances, man. I'm going to give them some time. It's not the end of the world just yet. I do think we have some other pressing needs over wide receiver, honestly. Well, not over wide receiver, but just as important. Like the tight end position, the running back position, the safety position. But people are kind of overlooking that just because obviously the wide receivers it's the weapons, man. It's the people that score touchdowns for the most part. So obviously people want the shiny new toys, and that's the wide receiver position. But I think the tight end position is maybe more needed, than a receiver position, because that position has to be fixed, honestly. It has to. But as always, man, thank y'all for tuning in. If you're new, please hit that subscribe button, turn the notifications on so you won't miss a video from me. Like this video, man, so you can have them pop up on your timeline, comment on the video, do all those good things that everybody tell you to do. And if you made it this far, I appreciate you. This is the Boot Tragedies once again, and I'm out.